Hello, everybody. It is great to be back in the morning Devo with Bo-O with you all. We're in Second Timothy, and I am a year older. So I am coming to you this July 12th at the wonderful age of 49. And got to be stoked with that. Just got back from a wonderful trip, and I just thank you all for wishing me a wonderful little vacay out in the ocean. And it was great, man. Did a little surfing, did a little ocean swimming. Just enjoyed the time. It was really great. So, but it's always good to be in the morning Devo, as you guys know. Some of you know anyway. I tried to get it all together to do the devos on the trip, but it just didn't work out. The system wasn't working too well. So anyway, back in the studio here and with you, and Second Timothy chapter 1. We are in part 2. So good morning, and here we go. Second Timothy chapter 1. This is our part 2. We're going to start on a really cool section. It's verse 9. So you can always check out the archives over there, at you're going to see the YouTube banner come up, and you can just go there if you miss anything or you want to go through a book. And so these are always good if you're on the treadmill, if you're doing some working out and you just need to put something on, get you kind of going, get you focused a little bit on the scriptures and wanting to learn a little bit about what it's talking about. This is great for you. This is for you. And I'm using a parallel Bible. If you've ever seen a parallel Bible before, it actually has two versions side by side. So mine has the King James version, and it has this what we call a paraphrase version, and that is the old Living Bible. And so that's what I use. So I have a King James on one side, and then I have, or the King James is there, I think, or right there. And then I have the Living Bible on that side. And I do a lot of these readings from the Living Bible. But I do have the King James version right here on right there as well. But paraphrase kind of it's neat, and I kind of enjoy how it speaks a little bit, how it breaks these things down. Very easily understood. So verse 9, hey, good morning, Jesus, and good morning, Marcia. Good to have you guys in the house. Let's get out and share this as well. Boop, and we'll get other people involved in the morning Devo. So verse 9 says, it is he who saved us. So this Devo this morning starts off wonderfully, right? It is he who saved us. Now the he is referring to Christ, Messiah. That's what Christ means, Messiah. So it is Christ, the Messiah, who saved us. And I can't think of a more greater thing to think about in a morning, really, that it is Christ who saves us. Now, this is important for the young Timothy to always remember. And Timothy is the recipient of this letter, and he's a young pastor. Paul is going to pass away soon. He's imprisoned, and this imprisonment in Rome is going to be his final. And he knows it, and we're going to see that kind of towards the end of the letter. And he has a lot of great words to Timothy, but one of the most important things any, if you will, teacher can share with their student, especially when it comes to the church and ministry, is that it is Christ who saves us. Sometimes ministries can get focused a little off focus, if I can say, where no longer that is the focus of a ministry or a particular teaching. But every teaching should come back to that idea that it is Christ who saves us. And this is like the foundation of Christian salvation doctrine or teachings, is that it is Christ who saves us. And I love this. He saves us for a purpose. Notice what it says. It is he who saved us. And it says, and chose us. Now, he chooses us for a purpose, and I want to get there, but I just want you to focus again on it. It's he who saves us and chose us. And isn't that great? Salvation is about what God has done for us. And that's really good. How does that affect us this morning? Well, in a devotion, we want to go, hey, God, first thing we want to do in the morning is just think, hey, God, it's you who save us. Lord, let not my value be placed on my ability to do everything right, but let my mind, let my value be focused on how you see me. My identity is what you have done for me, that you do love me, and that you have died for me. Help me to grow more in that understanding of your wonderful salvation gift towards me. Because if we get that wrong, then usually what we do is we start our day in ways where we think our value is based on maybe our ability. And then it leads you into depression if you don't make it, if you don't do everything you want to do in a day, or you think you should be doing, or you find yourself doing something wrong once again in your life, then you're shot down. And it just moves you right into depression because you're the greatest um, idea, the greatest thing you could ever achieve, which is salvation, to dwell with a holy God. That's got to be the greatest thing, right? I mean, achieving something on the earth, that's great, but let's face it, being able to enter the presence of God sounds like the greatest feat of them all, um, right? Dwelling in the presence of a holy God, that sounds pretty like an amazing thing to be able to do. But if you couldn't do that because of who you are, or how you are, or the failures that are in your life to attain to God's level of holiness and perfection, then you're utterly going to fall into an extreme depression. And then that'll lead just into sloth. You just end up giving up. And if you don't go that route, then you'll ultimately end up into pride and self-righteousness. And so, we have to come back always to that idea that that's why salvation is based off of Jesus Christ saved us and he chose us. It's his choosing of me. This is a beautiful idea that we've talked about before. Just how special that is when you choose someone. You say, hey, I want to focus on that person. I choose that person. And to think that's how God's looked at us, that's pretty radical. Hey, Paula, hope you're doing great. And glad you're back in the morning Devo. And Tina, you're in the house live. That's awesome. So thank you for welcoming back. And surfing was cool, man. Let me tell you, it was great. It was fun to get up on that board once again, and that was real special. And I had a chance to hang out with my brother too, and that was really special too. So it is he who saved us. I love that. It's him who saved us. I need to focus on that today. It's him who saved us and chose us for his holy work. So this is the purpose. God chose us to use us for his holy work. And I love that. It's his holy work. The idea is special work, right? Something special, something out of the ordinary. I guess when God does work, because God is holy, that is the characteristic of God. The one thing about God that makes him so unique, I guess, is that maybe he's holy, is the idea of his holiness. Or maybe that's the word, let me try to rephrase that. Maybe that's the word that is used to show the uniqueness of God, that he is holy in comparison to us that is not holy. And so his work is a holy work. And so we get to be a participant, to hang out with God in this wonderful work. We have a purpose. And I got to imagine that when we get to heaven, we too will have a purpose. Why do I say that? Because it says he saved us and chose us chose us for his holy work. So there is a holy work to do. Now I imagine we know there's something to do on the earth, and we're going to be told about that. But also, I get the idea that even in heaven, this idea of dwelling with God, that there is a purpose in that as well. So it's not just sitting on the cloud, right? Like the cartoons or something, like playing the harp or, that kind of thing. But there's a purpose and a something that we will be very much involved in. The plan of God, more revealed to us. So not because we deserved it. So he saved us and chose us in him, chose us for his holy work, not because we deserved it. Underline that. Not because we deserved it. Now, the systems that we work in this world, or the systems that are established in this world, always are contingent on our ability to perform, to do things, to accomplish things. But this sounds so contrary, don't it? It is he who saved us and chose us for his holy work, not because we deserved it. So not because of our ability to perform. It is not that we deserved it, but because that was his plan long before the world began, to show his love and kindness to us through Christ. Now, man, this is a radical idea. Um, it was already planned, this idea of plan. You get the idea that Paul keeps unfolding that Jesus isn't this second kind of idea of God. Like God was going to save the world through this, but that didn't work out. So then he saved the world through this. And, like plan B, plan C, God's got these plans, but you get the idea that it's always been this way. And I kind of like that because that means it kind of tells me something that God is not wishy-washy, or God is solid. And that kind of brings me a little bit of some peace, for sure. It kind of establishes my mind a little bit when I think of renewing your mind and having a strong mind. I think it's got to be established on something that is more solid than me, and God is solid. There's a stability, and even my salvation was not something that was kind of like on a whim or like this ditch effort of God, but it was something it says that was his plan long before the world began. And of course, my mind gets a little boggled with that, because when we say the world began, well, when I try to think of my own beginning, what was life like before I was born? I don't know. My mind goes tilt because I wasn't born yet, and might try to imagine what people were doing, sure, before I was born. But if I try to put my mind into what was I doing, well, I don't think I was doing anything. Why? Because I wasn't alive. And so there is no thought, there is no consciousness before I became alive. And so it's hard, your mind goes a little tilt when you start thinking of things that you can't, it seems like another world. And when it says that before the world began, God already had this plan of saving me, not on my works, not on how I deserve, but it was his gift. He chose me before the world began. Man, that's one of those ones where you just, again, your brain goes a little tilt on that. But again, it brings me a little bit of like establishment, foundation. God is solid, and his way of salvation is something that's based off of his choosing me, not on the basis of my deserving of his gift of salvation. Now, I think this morning too, I think about it like this. And I love these morning devos because I get to think through it with you guys as we just read these sections. It's wonderful. But like, I think of my wife, my kids, my friends, people, of course, in the body of Christ. Is my friendship contingent on your ability to, when I say your, I mean my wife, my kids, friends, all that, on people's ability to treat me a certain way, am I friends with them just because they deserve it, because they have earned it? Or do I act like God where I choose to love, where I choose to love people, where it's a decision, where I go, I am called, the idea of calling is the idea of like, this inner decision, um, this inner power that's moving you to live out something. Um, and to live out something would be live out um, a life of love. And do you look at people like that? Do you go, hey, I'm going to choose to love my spouse, like I want to choose to love my kids? And how does that look? What does that look like? Maybe it's making that extra text. Maybe it's taking that call. Maybe it's not doing everything you want to do. Maybe it's not just, having your recreation and having your things. And the reason why I harp on that sometimes is because our lives can, it seems like everything is about like retirement and our things and our lives. That's everything's going that direction. I want to do what I want to do. I want to travel. I want to do this. I want to go here. I want to go there. And everything becomes, it's like, again, narcissism is the better way today. That's kind of the theme, right? Is like that is the praised way to go. And nothing's wrong with traveling, and nothing's wrong with doing things. Um, but is it at the expense of loving others? And that's something that we always have to look at. But I guess my point is like, do I choose to love people? And to know that God has chose me, not because I deserved. See, either I'm gonna act like God and I'm gonna choose to love people because they're people, because they're made in the image of God. The Bible teaches those foundational truths from early on in the book of Genesis, that we're made in the image of God. Therefore, we should treat all humans, right, because they're all made in the image of God. So we should be concerned about justice, and we should be concerned about the poor, and we should be concerned about a lot of things. Those should all be on our minds as human beings. But if we're not choosing to love people, then maybe what we're doing in exchange for making that decision, that volitional decision that, hey, Lord, help me to love. You love people through me. Instead of doing that, maybe what we're doing is we're picking people that we want to be friends with because they've done something to us that is good, that we like, and they deserve it. We feel like they deserve our time and attention. And so maybe that's how we're acting with people. Now, and I know it might be, it's like, when you think of your kid, think of it that way. You know, you choose to love your kid. And when your kid does something that's not good, you still love your kid. And you choose to love them. Why? Because they're your kid. They have a position in your life. They have a position, a place in your life. Well, people that are, part of the world have a place in our life as humans. People in the family of God especially have a place in our life as Christian brothers and sisters. And so they have a special place. So there should be this love that's moving through us. But I just love looking at how God, what he's done for us, in that he has loved us. It says he saved us and chose us for his holy work, not because of what we deserved. And try to mimic that. Try to live out that way. Hey, Lord, help me to love people not based on what they deserve, but based on just, you have created in me, you've made me a new creation, and as you've made me a new creation, now I have new eyes to see the world with. And now there is this volitional life choice that is made as I become new in Christ to look at people in a loving way. And this is something that you might go, oh yeah, I do this. But then again, challenge yourself. Man, that's the great thing about a Devo is Lord challenge us, today. Where do you hang out? Where do you live? The people you're around. Are you just around people that are like you? Or do you get around? And that's the great thing about being a part of a church. Again, if you're part of a fellowship, you're around a lot of different people. And wow, what a blessing that is. Man, how important is that? You're not in this little bubble. When you're part of a church, usually, you're part of all different socio-economic ethnicities. Everything is different. Everybody has a different story, a different backdrop. And it really pushes us to be able to learn to love people, not on the basis of what they deserve, but just simply because of what and who they are. And we have this choice that we make. So, man, I really like that. It is He who saved us and chose us for His holy work, not because we deserved it, but because that was the plan of God before the world began. And it says, and now He has made all of this plain to us by the coming of our Savior, Jesus Christ. So this has become revealed through the work of Jesus Christ, who broke the power of death. Wow, that's an underlining thing. What did Jesus come to do? Break the power of death and showed us the way of everlasting life through trusting Him. So again, it emphasizes this idea of everlasting life being obtained through what? Trusting Him. Not on the basis of what we deserve, but on trusting Him. And it's through trusting in Him that we have this power over death. That instead of death being a separation from God, death is actually a move towards God. So the death of the body does not equate with the death of the spirit, but the death of the body actually draws our spirit into the presence of God. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, to be absent from the body, the fleshly body, is to be present with the Lord. And so life through trusting Him. I love that. We have everlasting life through trusting in Him. The power of death, we have this salvation. This is what salvation is. When people say, hey, don't you remember like growing up, people say, hey, are you saved? And I'd be saved from what? Well, saved from death. Saved from the wrath of the Father against sinners, But Jesus has come to deal with the wrath of the Father on the cross. How did He do that? Well, by His atoning sacrifice. And then Jesus also came to deal with the other issue, and that is the issue of death, by defeating death through the work on the cross. So Jesus has come to deal with things, and we can trust Him. And it says, and God has chosen me to be His missionary. Isn't that cool? And I guess that's you too, and me too, to preach to the Gentiles and teach them. So this is the wonderful holy work probably that Paul's referring to in this section, that He's chose us to get out and to share and to preach to the Gentiles and to teach them. So Paul saw himself on a specific mission at this latter part of his life, to really minister to the non-Jewish people. It's not that Paul never ministered to the Jewish people, because he certainly was called to them as well. And he was called to minister to kings and rulers and leaders, those kind of people as well. But Paul certainly had a place in ministering this good news to the non-Jewish people. And did it take effect? Yeah, it did. Look at us, right? A lot of non-Jewish people that have come to know Jesus. And so this is what salvation is about, this little section. Really cool, right? Not based on what you deserve, but by trusting in Him. And that is something we could just thank God for this morning and just be like, wow, that's pretty awesome. Very cool. Now, before I even read the Bible, of course, this was not how I thought. I always thought you had to earn your way to salvation, and you probably did too. And I always thought there was no way I could ever make it into, if there is a place of call heaven, there's no way I could be there. And I don't know if you've ever thought that way as well, but that's how I used to think. I used to think, man, there's no way that I could get into heaven. And I don't know about you guys, but I always thought um, like why even try? That's how I used to kind of think about it. It's like why even try to get into heaven if you know you can't do it? And so I would just, for that reason alone, I didn't want to go to a church or read the Bible or look into the person of Jesus Christ because I had a presupposition that that the only way you were to get saved is by good works, is by being a good person. And I didn't know the whole story. And unfortunately I was ignorant of it, and that ignorance led me to stay away. And boy, when I finally did read and listen to people share passages like this first or Second Timothy chapter 1 verse 9, for he saved us and chose us for his holy work, not because we deserved it, but because it was his plan long before the world began, to show his love and kindness to us through Christ. Jesus is a love and kind gift. He is the letter, right? He is the birthday card, right? Just had a birthday. He is the birthday card. Jesus is the gift. He is the card that says, "Hey, this is my gift to you." You might think of me as a God of wrath, a God of judgment, but I want to show my loving kindness. I want you to see my glorification in my loving kindness attributes seen through the Son. And that's what he did. He sent his Son. And man, is that cool or what? But when I realized that, man, my the world changed. I was like, wow, what a story. That is called the good news. So that's why I always say, why wouldn't anybody want to take the good news up take God up on his offer of good news, man? It's great news. You're saved not because of what you deserve. I mean, how great is that? I mean, you look at your heart and you look at your life and you look at, all the flaws you have and all the idiosyncrasies and just the temperaments and everything that's in you, and you go, wow, God, you love me, and you sent me a card. You sent me something. You sent the world a card, and that card was Jesus Christ. It was a kindness and love that was shown to us on that cross. You're the one who reached down to the beggar. You're the one who pulled the person up. You're the one that gave that person life. You're the one that gave them everything. And not because of anything they deserved. They were in this situation because they deserved it. They messed up in their life. They chose a bad path. And yet you chose them to love them. Man, that's a mind-boggling kind of love. And I hope that that hits you too. And you go, man, that's awesome. And how do you respond? By trusting Christ. And wow, super powerful. Hey, I went a little long today, but it was a great section. And sometimes these sections that are so filled with beautiful salvation doctrine are ones just to dwell on. So I hope you get done whatever you're doing, your workout, your morning, coffee, little time, or maybe you're already in your day at work and you're going at it. But you guys have a great one. Great to be back with you guys. Take care, okay? Bye-bye.